Once again, Xbox is bringing you some beautifully slashed prices on excellent titles, and here are just a few of our favorites.
If Elden Ring has been haunting your dreams somewhat lately, and you'd quite like something else to terrorize your waking hours, then look no further than Little Nightmares 2, which is now 33% off. Like the first game, this gothic puzzle platformer takes a very minimalistic approach to storytelling, which only makes the whole thing that much creepier. You play as a young child attempting to sneak and scurry their way through a mysteriously deserted world, or almost deserted anyway. The asylums, the boarding schools, and the swamplands you move through all still have one or two of their old inhabitants rustling around inside of them, just dying to say hello to you. TripAdvisor reviews for this place probably aren't the best, I imagine. From cannibalistic school teachers to living mannequins, pretty much everyone and everything you encounter in Little Nightmares 2 is absolutely terrifying, to the point where you almost don't want to see what's around the next shadowy corner. At least the ray trace reflections on Xbox Series X are very, very nice to look at until you catch a glimpse of something lurking behind you.
Keeping things horrifying, the Dark Pictures anthology is bringing you thrice the chills at just 2/3 of the usual price with this deal on the triple pack. Each one of these spine-tingling narrative adventures starts out with a group of characters in a precarious situation. Maybe their school trip has stumbled into a ghost town, maybe their diving expedition unearths more than they bargained for, or maybe they've accidentally awoken a race of Mesopotamian vampires. The point is that bad stuff is happening and you've got to get through it together. The decisions you make along the way and the relationships you build can have a big impact on how it all plays out and how happily and ever after each character gets. So be sure to keep a close eye on your faves. If you play House of Ashes on Xbox Series X or S, you'll get a performance mode and a quality mode to choose from, depending on whether you want to prioritize resolution to see the scares as clearly as possible, or frame rate to help keep your hand steady. Of all the life or death conundrums the game throws at you, that might just be the toughest.
While the Dark Pictures game might have you scratching your head about the best way to solve a particular situation, every obstacle you face in Tekken, I'm fairly sure, can be solved with a kick, or a punch, or a slap, or a mechanical arm karate chopping. It's not something we advise in real life, but the point is that this iconic arcade fighter keeps things beautifully simple. Two contestants enter and wail on each other until one of them doesn't feel like standing up anymore. It worked in 1994, and damn it still works in 2022. Tekken 7's Definitive Edition helps keep things fresh by giving you access to a mahoosive roster of fighters, including all those that were added through the Battle Pass over the years. That means you can sumo wrestle your opponents into submission with Gangryu, break out some old school kung fu with Leroy Smith, or square off as any of the other weird and wonderful characters Tekken has introduced over the years. Tekken 7, the Definitive Edition, really is Tekken at its most Tekken-y, and it's now had a massive 75% beaten off its price too.
Scarlet Nexus is another Bandai Namco title which looks amazing on next-gen consoles. The bright, bold anime aesthetic looks even sharper in 4K on the Xbox Series X, while both the Series X and the Series S target 60 FPS to keep things smooth even when things get a little wild, or a lot wild as the case may be. Scarlet Nexus takes place in a futuristic version of Tokyo, which is under constant attack from interdimensional monsters. Fortunately, there are teams of youngsters with psychic abilities and extravagant personalities standing by to put those critters back in their place. Combining your weapon attacks with different mind powers opens up all sorts of fun avenues in combat, encouraging you to get as creative as possible while you're dealing out the pain. If you're looking to beat up some bad guys and look good doing it, Scarlet Nexus is the game for you, and this week it's half price to buy and also available on Xbox Game Pass.
So Bandai Namco aren't the only major studio dishing out bargains this week, as EA has a major sale of its own, which means that everyone who enjoys the sporting life can expect a hefty price cut on the sports sim of their choosing. And for those who want a sim that covers some of the off-field action, The Sims 4 is now a staggering 90% off. For such a teensy tiny price, you'll be getting access to an entire world of possibilities. You can raise your Sims to be slackers, superstars, or psychopaths, set them off on all sorts of career paths, or help them look for love. And that's before you even start cracking open the expansion packs, loads of which are also on offer this week. Go natural, go supernatural, go get a dog, and see if your Sims are better at looking after digital lives than you are with your own real one. There are no wrong answers here, by the way, just the pure joy of playing God. And if you're an Xbox Game Pass member, you can still do so at no extra cost thanks to EA Play.
Another title which EA Play has served up for Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members is Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which you can also pick up for 60% off this week. The original Mass Effect trilogy is one of the most acclaimed series of all time, taking action RPG gaming to new heights with its complex character dynamics, vast interactive universe, and epic story. Plus, it lets you throw folks around with your mind and hang out with a nice robot, which sounds like my perfect Sunday. All three games are better than ever in the Legendary Edition, with improved textures, particle effects, and all sorts of other techie bells and whistles to make them painfully pretty. And nowhere is the trilogy more impressive than on the Xbox Series X, where you'll find an exclusive 120 FPS option, as well as the eye-watering magnificence of 4K Ultra HD.
Dip back a little further into the EA Play catalogue and you'll find classics like Burnout Paradise Remastered, the perfect game to pick up if Forza Horizon 5 has got you all geared up for some open world automobile action. Burnout Paradise bust the series out of the straight and narrow road of its arcade days and gave players a whole city to tear around in, as well as an entirely badass classic rock soundtrack to listen to along the way. Thundering around the block at 200 miles per hour while blaring Guns N' Roses? I mean, does gaming get any better than that? Well, hold that thought, because it actually does. With the remastered version of the game adding a level of visual polish which will keep things looking smooth even after you've ploughed your supercar into a lamppost because you're too busy playing the aforementioned air guitars. All that under the hood and 70% off the sticker price? They don't call it paradise for nothing.
Another EA Play title that's well worth getting up to speed with is the first-person freerunner Mirror's Edge Catalyst. Playing as a courier named Faith, you'll be sprinting along the sides of buildings, diving out of windows, and tiptoeing along skyscraper ledges to make sure that your message gets delivered. Which honestly kind of makes our postal workers look a bit sluggish by comparison, but I'm sure they're doing their best. The near-future city of Glass is a gorgeous place to scamper around as well. All glittering towers and pristine white structures that are just begging you to leave shoe scruffs on them. Much like the first game, Mirror's Edge Catalyst is a game that a lot of folk rush past upon release, and which is well worth doubling back for, especially now that it's 75% off.
For more free-running fun, you should also check out Ghost Runner. We were all told not to run with scissors, but nobody said anything about samurai swords, so I think we're all in the clear here, folks, which is good because parkour and swordplay turn out to be a winning combination here. Set in a dazzling cyberpunk future, Ghost Runner is a first-person slasher where one hit is enough to take out just about anyone, including you. As a result, the game is all about speed and precision, demanding lightning-fast reflexes to make it through alive. Play it on the Xbox Series X, and you'll be able to ramp up the frame rate all the way to a delicious 120 frames per second, which might just make all the difference next time you go in for that killer blow. Failing that, you can always switch to ray tracing mode and watch those pretty neon lights glimmer while you get sliced to ribbons. A bit like the price has, with a discount of 60%. You see what I did there?
That's a wrap on this week's deals, but don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell for all the latest Xbox wheelings and dealings in the weeks to come. This video is brought to you by Elden Ring, the collaboration between Dark Souls from Software and Game of Thrones author George R.R. Martin we've all been waiting for. Set in the lands between From Software's largest ever open world, this fantasy RPG follows your character's ascension to become an Elden Lord of a realm full to the brim with both beauty and horror. How you approach that journey to the top is in your bloodied hands. Utilize stealth, magic, the vast variety of weapons found scattered across the world, or even summon the spirits of former enemies to aid in your most challenging of battles. However you choose to rise, Tarnished, Elden Ring is available now, so mount your steed and prepare for an adventure like no other.
We inhabit a fractured world. Awaiting the arrival of the Elden Lord.